Welcome to the Unreal Engine 4 course Introduction for Game Mechanics 01. In this video, I'll give a high-level overview of the rest of the course, the approaches that we will be taking, and the actual project that we'll be making. So without further ado, let me quickly switch to Unreal Engine 4 and show you the game that we'll be making. Now, if you followed along for the Unity project, the first half of this course, then this will probably seem somewhat familiar. We are making a very similar game. We are again making a twin stick top-down shooter. And the reason why we're doing this is so that you can draw parallels between both engines. Making the same game in two different engines can be really valuable, as you can then directly compare the two and learn what the differences are between the engines. So let me hit play here and show you what is in the game. So we have our animated character with omnidirectional animations. We can shoot these projectiles. The projectiles can hit the enemies, damage the enemies. There will be player feedback for the impacts, right? You will see that the enemies can die. They have sound. We also have a secondary weapon system in there. We have a scoring system in the corner. We have a health bar and some UI elements. And then the player can die. And when you die, we restart the game. So that's a quick overview of the end result that we'll be aiming for, and that we will build step by step over the course of this video series. Now, before we actually get started on the actual project, there's still a couple of things that I want to address. The first thing that I want to address is um, the fact that most of you will already be familiar with Unreal Engine 4, either through a different course or just some personal experimentation. Um, And you may be tempted to just say, well, I already know the engine, I already know how to use blueprints, I'm just going to skip this video series and directly start working on my prototype project. Now, I would strongly advise against that, as yes, you may already be familiar with the editor and how to use the basic fundamentals of Blueprint. What we will be focusing on is actually the gameplay architecture and correctly using the engine. So we'll be using the gameplay architecture designed by Epic Games. Epic Games is also the developer of the Unreal Engine, and they've been making games for the past 30 years. They've been making games using this gameplay architecture that is part of the fundamental building blocks of the engine. So over the 30 years, they've been really successful, and the reason for that is also probably, besides their design abilities, the robustness of the architecture that they have designed to make all kinds of different games with the same systems. So again, we'll be focusing on correctly using them from scratch, creating an empty project and just building our game up until the very final steps of the project. Then the second thing that I want to address is the fact that we will be primarily using blueprints for this video series. Um, I can hear a couple of I usually hear a couple of students say, well, why aren't we using C++? We want to see more C++. And I can completely understand that. But the reason why we are using blueprints is so that we can cover a lot more ground. By doing it this way, we can ensure that we see the entire gameplay architecture. We can touch all of the aspects of the engine and actually prepare you to then make the step to C++ way more efficiently. Being able to know where everything is located, being able to know how everything is called, and so forth. Okay, it'll mean that we can see a lot more stuff and be way more efficient in learning the engine. Now, that being said, in the final video of this video series, we will actually be using C++ as well. So I will show you how to use C++ in Unreal Engine 4, how to convert a blueprint component into a C++ component. And that is also the way that the engine is often used. You will be prototyping stuff in blueprints as quickly as possible, connecting the nodes and trying things out. And then you would go in and optimize it, make C++ components, and replace elements that were made in the blueprints. Okay. So we will definitely see both aspects, but the majority will be in blueprints for that reason. All right. So that was a brief introduction of what we will be doing. And in the next video, we will actually start setting up our project, setting up the Visual Studio setup, and actually getting ready to start making our game. All right, so see you in the next video.